we have found some traces of the little Roman village on the top of the Pyramid of the Sun. But, of course, the Romans were very detailed, and they would write everything, but nobody mentioned the existence of the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
For Romans, we had Illyrians.
Yeah.
They did not, leave anything in writing. So what we guess is that even in that time, a couple of thousands of years ago, all these pyramids were covered by soil and the vegetation.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the Bosnian Institute for Pedology on the site. So what they concluded that, for example, in the case of the Pyramid of the Moon, the thickness of the soil layer is about 40 centimeters in average.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that in order that 1 centimeter of soil is to be formed, it takes about 250 to 300 years. So if you have 40 centimeters and multiply it by 300 years, you are getting 12,000 years.
Mm.
What does it mean? It means that these objects have not been in function possibly for 12,000 years.
Wow.
Where does it lead us? It leads us to the time before the end of the last ice age.
That's right.
Now, we do have some geological clues that take us also in very distant past.
Mm.
But before we find any organic material that belonged to the original builders, and we can do C14 analysis, we won't be able to tell if the pyramids were really so old and among the oldest buildings ever built on this planet.
Fascinating. This resonates, I guess, a lot also with, Graham Hancock's theory, and he's been taking forward, and this date seems to be coming up again and again. About 12,000 years ago. So far in your excavations down there, do you think that the pyramids has been covered by soil and vegetation naturally, or could there have been some kind of I don't know what, flood situation, whatever, something that happened in the past, the geological upheaval that might have caused the structures to be hidden by more soil? Is that possible?
Well, since all my answers were very long, let me say briefly, I think it was covered by natural causes.
Mm. Okay, yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's see here. I mean, you mentioned the Illyrian civilization or that kind of people. In your work, I mean, have you, considering again your background on the Mayan civilization, can you feel that there are similarities in a way between these two civilizations or some other one around the globe? What do you think?
Yes. Now, there is a new science called anthropological genetics. And as you know, this science is based on DNA testing. And for the last 7-8 years, this science has been able to answer the question of the age and the movement of every nation on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For example, we know that the first intelligent man that belonged to the Homo sapiens sapiens is about 150,000 years old, originated in Africa. We also know that they left Africa 65,000 years ago. We also know that the oldest nation in Europe are the Basques in Spain, 55,000 years ago.
Okay.
And then that the older nation like the one on the Balkan and Ukraine are about 27,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do have is the intelligent man on the locations in Bosnia, in the heart of the Balkan, 27,000 years ago. Of course, in the beginning, it was probably the caveman level. But with the time, it's possible that they were advancing. And now, my thinking was, if you look at the modern civilization, you can say that we went directly from the Middle Age to the age of, exploring the universe. People got, 150 years ago, from the very poor situation in science, we went to the moon, 30 years ago. So what does it mean? It means that there are some periods in our development that, for a very short period of time, you got such a technological revolution that you are able to build, such huge buildings. Is it possible that sometimes in the past, 12,000, 15,000, 18,000 years ago, we had a similar development in the evolution of the man, that for some period of time, let's say 500, 600 years, the technology or the mental skills, had such a huge progress for such a short period of time, so people were able to build such huge buildings. Now, when we go back to the Ice Age, we know that the most of the Europe was covered by thick layer of ice. And to be more precise, anything north from Austria, which means Germany, Poland, and France, and your Scandinavian countries, were covered by 2,000 to 3,000 meters thick layer of ice. But at the same time, anything south from Austria, which means Croatia, Bosnia, and those countries in the south, were never, and I repeat, never covered by ice. As a matter of fact, the average temperature was only 5 degrees less than it is today. It means that we did have climate possibilities, that the humans were able to develop a rather, sophisticated culture and civilization. And probably they did before the end of the Ice Age, but with the end of the Ice Age, it all collapsed and disappeared, because we know that some of the oceans, like Pacific Ocean, rose the level for 100 meters. And some areas like Bosnia, which were close to the Adriatic Sea, probably had that water level rose for 3, 4, maybe 6, 700 meters, and the whole civilization was gone overnight.
Wow. So this might be one of the reasons why, the peoples at that time choose this region, because that was kind of my follow-up question to this. Why this area? Now, what is important with it? And a follow-up question to that, I guess, is how was it called? How high above this above sea level is this area now?
Okay, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is the highest point is 767 meters. 767. But as you know, we are about a couple of 300 kilometers from the Adriatic Sea. And like I said, at one point in the past, when the Ice Age ended, a huge quantities of ice melted. Now imagine such a quantity of liquids, of the water, coming all the way to the south, connected to the Adriatic Sea. So for the very short period of time, the water rose in this particular area for 600 or 700 meters. So those huge pyramids were partially covered with water, and just the very tops were like little islands. Now, what gives me an idea that only the top was not covered by ice? We know of existence of some metal rings that were rather big of the radius, that were used for the ships, And if those metal rings are the proofs of that high water level, it means that the only period when the water could rise for such a big level was, 12,000 years ago. Never in the recent history we had such an event that could cause that the water would rise for so much, except for the end of the last ice age.